The year is 2025 and the US has not been a fan favorite, so I tried restoring faith in humanity by looking at some videos where people are like, okay, there is still hope for America. And then this video graced my feed. TikTok reacts to how the world views America, and I can promise you it is not good, not good. But I need you guys to let me know in the comments down below how you guys view America as of late. I know we have been causing problems globally and it has been a very, very, very hot mess. So if you guys are new here, welcome. If you guys are returning viewers, welcome back. Make sure you guys like this video and subscribe. We're gonna go ahead and get into this and see exactly how you guys feel about America. And I am shivering in my timbers because I don't think it's gonna be that great, man.
Question for people in other countries. Do you want to visit us anymore?
No.
Damn, that was quick. Like, no, never mind.
Just flat out no. And the ones who do want to go to the US, it's because they do not truly understand what it's like to actually live in the US. So I'm gonna break it down for you. The American dream is dead.
It's been dead for a while. I made a video on this like, what, 3-4 years ago? Maybe even longer. I think I made a video in 2020 about this, but the American dream has been pretty dead for a long time. A lot of people have stopped flocking to America for a variety of reasons, but it's like, the funny thing is, no one else killed the American dream but America. We're imploding. Okay, we are imploding. And I think that's what a lot of people have predicted for a long time now. Can we recover from this? Obviously, but I feel like it's gonna take a miracle at this point because it seems like every day we keep doing something to make our situation a little bit worse than it was the day prior. And I don't think any foreign country has anything nice to say about us right now, except for probably Russia.
America is for the wealthy and nobody else. Another thing is, I'm afraid of being unalived at every single point like I step out of the house.
Oh my gosh, this is so true. And no exaggeration, right? Some of you guys watching this from America are probably like, oh my God, James, I grew up in Chicago. Okay, first of all, not everywhere in America is Chicago, but everywhere in America right now is probably more volatile than it ever has been. We have mass shootings happening at ridiculous rates. We have people crashing out in general at ridiculous rates. People feel the need to own a gun, not because, you know, they're going out to practice some kind of sport. They're doing it for safety reasons. And then that also perpetuates a state of fear in a lot of other people because when they see other people carrying guns, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm just trying to get groceries, bro. I don't want this to be a wild Western standoff or whatever. It's crazy. It is literally crazy. In fact, I'm living in Korea right now, and this is the safest place I've ever lived in my entire life. I know you guys are like, oh, but you're right next to North Korea, which is very true, but I have never felt safer in my entire life. No matter what part in America I lived in, I know for a few things, right? There is not a singular possibility that I'm gonna get gunned down by an officer with a trigger finger because they have to verify so many things before they can fire their weapon. I know that I'm not gonna get brutally robbed or jumped out here. I still, you know, have some street smarts and whatnot, but I know that that's not gonna happen here because that's just not even the culture, you know? So America, it is a melting pot. It has a lot of people, and that's what I pride America for being. But at the same time, because of the way society is structured, all of the things I mentioned are not privileges in America at all. People are going crazy. People are going crazy. It's to the point where I've seen more videos than ever, and a lot of Americans are moving out of the country completely because they're like, I don't feel safe here. I thought it was a joke at first. I'm like, okay, everybody is talking about it. 2016, people were talking about it, but people are actually doing it now. I mean, I've been overseas for the last almost 4 years, and a lot of people are trying to hop on a bandwagon. So I'm like, dang.
To be the grocery store, at a restaurant, it doesn't matter. And I'm a privileged person. I am a white person, and I am afraid of the pew-pews.
Damn.
I cannot even imagine what it's like for people who don't have my skin tone. Another thing, it's very hard for me to make friends being outside the US, like even for a year. Like, it's one of two things. Either they get this look on their face where I'm just like, okay, they just really don't care, or they see me as bragging. Also, the food is designed to make us sick, and don't even get me started on healthcare.
That is true. Oh my gosh, the food in America. Now, some of it's really good, but very little of it is actually good for you. And with the restructuring of the people that are supposed to be verifying what is good for your body in America, those people have been fired. So if our food was diabolical before, oh my God, gosh. We're in for a roller coaster ride, man. I feel like this is forced natural selection. Okay. The government like, damn, we got way too many people. How can we fix that? Let's go ahead and just remove the barriers that we kind of had in place that weren't even that good at first for what we put in our food. Yeah, it's kind of wild.
America sees itself as the land of the free and home of the brave. But its own citizens and non-Americans don't always agree.
The best way I've heard it described to make sense for like the average person is that we're similar to the Fire Nation in Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yo,
so the
that
Fire
is crazy.
Nation was told about how great they were and how like war was one way to kind of spread their greatness and share it with everyone else. But that's not really the truth, right? The Fire Nation just went around spreading war because they wanted to take stuff from other people.
Bro, when you say it like that, damn. Damn. The U.S. being the Fire Nation is crazy. But the fact that that doesn't sound that crazy is even crazier. Oh my God, bro.
So this kind of draws parallels with the current United States. We kind of claim that we're for freedom and democracy and everything. But when you look at where we start wars, it's usually for economic or political reason.
True.
You think it's a coincidence that we just happen to start wars in all these places that are very oil rich? But yeah, the reason the US is hated worldwide is because we go around doing a bunch of sketchy shit.
I'm curious on like Europeans' opinions on why they don't like Americans.
I'm an American that's been living in Amsterdam for about 8 years now. I'm completely integrated. My partner is Dutch, which is why I moved out here. I speak the language. I've got primarily Dutch friends. And here are some of the reasons why I have found that the Dutch, particularly, don't like American.
Yikes.
So the Dutch mentality is all about nuchterheid, is the word that they use. And it's about being down to earth. It's about being level-headed. It's about being just like everybody else. Nobody is better than anybody else. And if you look at the American mentality, it's completely the opposite. Yeah. It's about trying to be better than everybody else.
Very true. It's a highly competitive atmosphere in a business sense and in every other aspect as well, socially, in a business sense, economically, all that good stuff. It's crazy and it's unfortunate because obviously you would just want to be out there and relax and chill and mind your own business. But the way that society is structured in America, everybody has to compete with each other, you know, and not in the same sense as Korea per se, right? Because Korea has its own issues as well, but it's very similar. I think there's a facade that you don't have to compete to with the person next to you, but you know, the proof is in the pudding. You know what I mean? Like when it comes to jobs, when it comes to, again, social status, and a lot of other things and stuff, most Americans work themselves to the bone, but then there's this illusion that they don't, and you have all this free time, you can do whatever you want with your money, and a lot of people feel very dissatisfied. So I've noticed even traveling to Europe, the mentality was just relax, you know, work so that you can live and don't live so you can work. You know what I'm saying? Like it's wild, man.
It's trying to be the star, trying your hardest to be something. They find that type of mentality completely rude, dishonest, and how they like to call it, fake. The second biggest reason is because Americans are brought up with the idea that America is better than everybody else. This savior complex that they saved everybody. They are the example, and that couldn't be further from the truth.
Yeah.
If you look at things like gun control, healthcare, safety.
Our gun control is abominable, dude. Like, yes, I do think that there are a good chunk of people that know what they're doing with guns out in America, but then I think we have even more people now than ever that do not know how to handle a gun properly, but have access to them and put other people in danger because of it. I'm telling you, that's one of the leading things. Well, one of the leading reasons why people don't want to come to America, aside from the fact that America is detaining people and then deporting them back to their countries, even though they are tourists and they're not actually living here. It's kind of crazy. It's crazy. Like America's like, oh yeah, like make sure you have your paperwork and blah, blah, blah. And then proceeds to detain people that actually have proper paperwork, visas and what have you, and decides to deport them to El Salvador or back to their country of origin. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Equality. I mean, the US is the worst. Not admitting to that is something that they completely hate. And lastly, I don't know why, but there is this view that Americans are dumb. We are just dumb to them. I think that's something we're never going to be able to change. They're always just going to view the American mentality, the American mindset as just dumb.
Honestly, I understand why, and I do. And for those people that are watching this video right now that are from America that are like, come on, man, it's not that bad. It is that bad. But I do think that we have the golden opportunity now to turn things around. We do. It's going to take some time, obviously, because the damage has already been done. But I do think that we give it a few years, we make some better decisions and whatnot, and start with boosting our international relations. Because right now, every country, even the most passive of countries, is looking at America like a loose cannon. Because right now, it looks like we are. That's a good start. That's a good place to start slowly changing people's opinions of America, because I think right now we're at a point where nobody wants to have anything to do with us, and the strategies that America is putting in place right now to bolster community relations is in a way where we're trying to force people's hands, for instance, with these damn tariffs, to be our friends and whatnot, or to have any kind of possibility of doing business with us. Because I guess we're trying to manufacture our own stuff and have all of the things that we've outsourced be made in America, which is not a good thing for several reasons. But that's a conversation for another time. It's just very unfortunate, because if you look at the view in America 10, 15 years ago, entirely different than what it is now. People are not liking us at all. And it's not even the fact that people don't like us. It's the fact that Americans themselves don't even feel comfortable in the country they grew up in for a variety of reasons. And it's so sad, man. It's so sad. I really hope we can change this, because, oh man, I just miss how things were. Like, 15 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, it seemed a little bit simpler than what it is now. But oh my gosh.
After 8 years living here, I can safely say that I totally agree with the Dutch mentality, and I share their view on us Americans, sadly. As much as I love my American friends and my American family, I don't love my country, and I only saw freedom and opportunity until I left.
I've seen a lot of Black Americans asking why Africans hate them, and I'm going to answer the question for you. Number one, this American ego transcends race. It doesn't matter if you're white American, brown American, or Black American. There seems to be like this ego that makes you think that you are the main character wherever you go.
Damn. Oh my God, bro. I've been guilty of this, bro. That's crazy.
Therefore,
it hurts.
When you go to places in Africa, you get surprised when you're treated like just another tourist. I've heard people saying stuff like, they only cared about my dollars. Yeah, this is a supermarket. You've gone there expecting a kinship and connection with people whose history diverges from your history. And those slave ships took off, the countries that, you came from, they went on. There were still things happening to them, and there's still things happening to them today. Your history isn't as shared as you think that it is. There isn't this kind of Black kind of community in a lot of countries in Africa because everyone's Black.
That is actually very true. It's funny. I think we've all heard this and stuff, right? Africans and Black Americans don't necessarily get along that well. She's explaining why, obviously, but I've gotten to see this and I'm like, what the heck? Like, why? But then I guess it also makes sense too. I mean, Black Americans, we're Americans, right? So obviously America as a society is entirely different than most of the world. And so of course you have the mentality, you have the societal structure and stuff like that, that you've had to kind of live through and whatnot. And that is entirely different than many other places. And it comes off as abrasive. So of course, in a culture that is not based on those things, right? Now it has its own issues, for sure. It has a lot of issues. There can be some beef, there can be some beef. And I have definitely witnessed that. And it is very unfortunate.
I get it if you were in Sweden and you're walking past another Black person and they didn't smile at you. And it's like, we are the only Black people here, like in this city. I'd get it. But you can't go to Africa and expect Black people to care that you're Black. And also, it's not even it's not a hate of Black Americans. There's a hatred of Americans in general. A lot of places do not have a great history with America. And while it's very much clear to us that we can live in countries like England with terrible histories and who are right now selling billions of pounds and arming places like Israel, we can understand that within these countries there are different politics, there's different dynamics, there's still social hierarchies. We cannot expect people who are on the receiving end of the violence of the countries that we live in to care that we are not at the top of the social hierarchy here. But I get called European child by my own relatives who I am literally biologically related to. Because nobody cares, because I was raised in Europe. So I might as well be white to them.
That's crazy.
Can't go to other countries and bring the race dynamics of your countries to theirs. And there are places where you go where people won't treat you like that. People will accept you and will be like, oh, I'm so happy that you're here. But you guys keep going to places that are heavily populated by tourists, by American soldiers, and a lot of these American soldiers are black.
Yo, chill.
And then you're acting surprised when people aren't that, shocked and happy to see you. So to conclude, it's not that they hate you, it's that they don't care about you.
I just learned about something absolutely absurd that we do here in the US that no one else in the entire world does.
Does it have to do with pledging allegiance to our flag? Because that's a little questionable. I brought that up a long time ago. I've always thought that was a little strange. When the concept was introduced to me as a child, I was like, why? What if we just love our country? Can we? Is that not good enough? Why do we have to pledge allegiance to a flag at 6 years old? Like, this don't make no damn sense. I think over the years, though, they've dialed it down a lot. I don't think schools do it as much as they used to do back in the day, but I could be wrong. I have no idea. I've been out of school for a long time. If you guys are from America and you're still in school some way, somehow, let me know in the comments down below if that's still something that happens or if they've kind of just adapted that to the times and changed that aspect. But I don't know what she's about to say. So
here in the US, we incarcerate people under the age of 18, 13 and up, for life.
Jesus Christ.
So there are teenagers that get sentenced to prison for life.
Oh, yeah. I mean, our prison system is cooked. I did a whole video on it. Didn't do that well, but I did a whole video on this, right? America's ideology when it comes to prison is not rehabilitation. The idea is that if you're going to prison, you're cooked. There is no saving you. We're gonna try to keep you there as long as possible. It is a punitive-based mentality. And a lot of countries outside of the US, not every country, but let's just use Europe for an example. Their systems in general revolve around rehabilitative practices, which is why you see more lenient conditions in Europe and whatnot, and a lot more focus on rehabilitative, mental systems and stuff like that, so that the people who are in there don't become the victims of recidivism, where they come back into society and then repeat the offense that they initially created to get into jail or prison or whatever in the first place, which is crazy. It makes sense because obviously that's part of the reason why we feel safer in other countries, because the people, the local populace, isn't overtly violent. All right. In America, we throw somebody in jail and they come out at some point, and chances of them being more hostile are through the roof because the prison system is egregious. It is terrible. Oh my God.
They can die in the prison. They will die in prison. In 2020, an average of 1,162 children were arrested every single day.
That's wild.
And, as you can imagine, because it's exactly the same with adults, Black children are disproportionately affected. 22 states in the US have yet to ban children getting life in prison without the possibility of parole.
That's insane. And then we parade ourselves as like, yeah, dude, like we're just trying to make the country safe. And da, da, da. The thing is, I do think that a lot of how America navigates just needs to be restructured. I mean, I think there just needs to be some general restructuring of how we do things in America to make things a lot better. For instance, if the issue is people being a little bit more violent in America right now, how about we have available places for people to get treatment? And while we do have some not nearly enough. And I do think that because of our health care that we have, because a lot of times you do need to pay for this some way, shape, or form, and it's typically through your healthcare provider, because it's a mental health thing, obviously, right? The companies are structured to screw you over. I mean, they're designed to actually not pay out. You'll pay what, $600-700 a month for a healthcare premium subscription just to not be able to use it when you actually need it. So a lot of things need to change, man, and it's just so sad seeing this. It's so sad. Oh, hold on. Let me put this back in. I can't believe this fell out, man. Oh, I wish my Bluetooth worked.
I'll give you a guess as to which some of those states are.
Here's a sample of what the rest of the world thinks of the United States. Green means you have a favorable opinion of the U.S., blue, unfavorable. A lot of these tie into current events, like Poland's sky-high 93% rating, which makes sense given our mutual support for Ukraine. The overall results will be a bit surprising to those of us who remember the 2000s and the unpopularity of the Iraq War. Today, nearly twice as many respondents have a favorable view of the US as an unfavorable view. I think the result that's going to surprise Americans the most is just how unpopular we are in Australia, where nearly half—
I think this chart needs to be updated, dog. When did this video come out? Because this had to be a video for 2 months ago. Shit, these TikToks are probably collected from last year, because I think if you look at the favor towards America right now, all of this would be down greatly. I mean, Israel seems to be legit. I mean, their approval rating in Israel is 87, bro. God dang, 87%. Yeah, of course it's 87%. We send them a whole bunch of, weapons and stuff. But yeah, Poland, I can see that too. But worldwide, I think the numbers are probably a lot lower than this right now, because again, people are looking at us like, hey, are you sure you want to go down this route?
Half the population has a negative view of the United States. And that's in direct contrast to how warmly Americans view Australia. If you take the two positive categories and combine them from this survey, Australia is the top country that Americans view favorably. What gives? Why do they dislike the US so much down under? I have some thoughts. Not only am I a historian and a policy geek, but I spent every summer of my teenage years traveling around Australia. And the first thing to remember is that Australians all learn in history class that they spent the last century playing second fiddle to the imperial ambitions of their British colonial overlords, and then on the behalf of America in Vietnam and the Gulf War. For example, one of the biggest blockbusters of the 1980s was the movie about the Battle of Gallipoli, starring none other than a young Hottie McToddy, Mel Gibson, over here.
That's Mel Gibson? Jesus Christ! He doesn't even look like himself now.
Officers callously threw Australian troops at prepared Turkish trenches. In the 1960s, Australians very much felt that once again, Australian troops were being sent, this time to Vietnam, to fight for the imperial ambitions, this time of America instead of Britain. The largest per capita anti-war protests in the world were actually in Australia. And so for many Australians in the 90s and the aughts, it felt like Australia was repeating that history all over again, this time in the Middle East.
Wow.
But the thing I actually heard the most as a teenager in Australia, especially in the 90s, was a sense that the US wasn't playing fair with Australian farmers. Now, you and I don't spend a lot of time thinking about agricultural policy, but it's a big deal in Australia. It is a net exporter of all kinds of agricultural goods, especially sheep. I remember sitting in a ute, a truck, with an Australian farmer who was just spitting mad at Bill Clinton for hypocritically lowering tariffs with Mexico and Canada as part of NAFTA, but raising tariffs on lamb exports from Australia. The US is used to getting its own way regardless of what anybody else thinks about it. But imperial entanglements and trade protectionism makes us enemies where we should be making friends.
Yikes.
America will bomb your country until there's nothing left, then come back 20 years later and make a movie about how sad their
Damn, bro. That's messed up.
soldiers got from doing it. You're not wrong. Let's talk about the American military movie complex. And I haven't even watched this yet, but isn't that exactly the plot of Cherry? Generally, war movies are probably like my least favorite genre.
Yeah, I as I've gotten older, I'm like, dude, it's the same thing. It's like we have these war movies and whatnot, right? And again, obviously it's of the same time period, so I get it. But it's like we're obsessed with World War II, and actually, it's not uncommon for a lot of people. I can't speak for the rest of the world, but I can at least say for Americans, like we were all of us are fascinated with World War II and stuff and the things that happened. It was just so much happening at one time. And so we do get a lot of movies and whatnot that, you know, have like the courageous, brave American soldier going in to fight the war for his or her country. And, you know, the evil German soldiers and stuff like, you know, doing malicious things and whatnot. And it's been so played out that now like those movies just don't hit anymore, man. You show that now, people are like, oh God, here we go. I mean, it's interesting. It is interesting, but it makes sense that these movies have been created in the bulk that they have, because I mean, if you look at how we spend our money, most of our money that we spend as a government goes towards the military. So, and I think globally we spend the most money on our military, so it would make sense that we have movies that, you know, praise the, you know, things that we do, you know. So it's interesting. It is very interesting, but particularly looking at Hollywood and the amount of military movies that have been put out, it's interesting. I mean, I do have like some movies that I love that are from that period, but I started realizing as I got older, we have a lot of World War II related movies, man, and just war movies in general, to the point that it can be a genre. And I think it is a genre of its own. And I'm like, God dang.
1917 is one that stands out. That's pretty damn good. But yeah, I think we all know how a lot of these movies are just used for propaganda anyway. But what is a lot less commonly known is that the Department of Defense sponsors so many movies that aren't even war movies, which then also get used as means of propaganda. Because if you want to use military equipment in your movie, you have to apply directly to the Department of Defense, and who then have to approve your script. They have criteria that you have to meet to even get approved, so a lot of the time, military cannot look like the villains in your movie. Transformers, DoD sponsored. Godzilla, DoD sponsored.
Wow.
DoD sponsored.
Of course.
DoD sponsored.
Of course.
And if you wait to the credits, you can see it. Top Gun is the best example of this, because this whole movie is just used to rebrand the American military after Vietnam.
America is not what it once was. I've got some bad news for people who don't travel internationally. The world hates us, okay? We're not the big dogs. We don't have the clout that we once had. We aren't even, like, statistically on top of anything, education or anything anymore. And I've traveled a lot internationally. Over COVID, obviously, I stopped. And there's always been an underlying tone that America is dangerous. But you know, we run Hollywood, so a lot of the media that is consumed by people in other countries is still American. However, I'm on my first international trip since COVID, and it has gotten worse. I have heard from every nationality that America is dangerous, but I arrived in Indonesia, which is a country that, you know, a lot of people aim to get out of and go to America. And the first thing that my taxi driver says to me is that he's afraid of America because of all the poppy seeds that we're taking and all the jazz powder that people are using. And he's convinced that people are walking around the U.S. like zombies.
Oh, my God. I mean, if you go down Skid Row, I mean, you ain't wrong. But in most of America, I don't think it's like that, bro. Like, God dang. I didn't even think of that.
Because that's what's on the internet. That's what these people are seeing. And I think it's a really big lesson if you are sheltered and are not leaving the U.S. We don't got it. Like, we don't got it anymore. People don't want to live in America. People aren't eager to live in America. When I was in Europe, a lot of the kids said their parents wouldn't let them go to America because they were afraid they were going to get popped by the...
Or now detained. That's the new thing, man. Like, people genuinely have just been putting out travel warnings to their country to not travel to America because people are getting detained en masse. It's not just people like that are neighbors to America. It's everybody, bro. And it's weird. It's so weird.
Police. Like, those are the fears. The only fear that Americans have when their children travel overseas is that they're going to be, like, in the movie Taken, which is a very small possibility. And they just use that as a fear. I don't even, like, that's not really even a founded fear. People aren't taking Americans when we go, because you know how big of a hell case they would raise if some little white girl went missing? That's not what's happening. But what is happening is other people from other nations are going to America and bad things are happening to them. So Just a reminder, we ain't
My entire series on how the world views the U.S. highlights the concept of how all of us were raised to believe we live in the greatest nation in the world. We were taught, or perhaps indoctrinated.
I know a lot of people are probably like, dang, like, you know, and rightfully so right now, you know, bashing America, it seems to be the new thing. I think it's just heavy criticism. I think every country deserves some heavy criticism, but particularly right now, America absolutely deserves the criticism it's getting because of the choices it's made over the last few years and even very, very, very recently. Again, I do think that the image can be saved eventually, but a lot has to change. A lot has to change, obviously. And starting with like the simple things, right? We need to take care of our people. Like, it seems like just people in America themselves don't feel safe at all. And for fundamental reasons, our health care. Let's talk about our health care. I'm not going to dive into it too much, but because you guys already know it's bad. It is abominable. The system is designed to make as much money off of you as possible without you ever getting to use those resources. So if we start there, and people can at least be like, okay, if I get in an accident, I don't need to be worried about a $3 million bill I have to pay back in 2 months. It's like the movie Repo Man, if you haven't seen that, which is about it's Jude Law, Forrest Whitaker. Whenever someone's organ fails, there's a team that comes out of nowhere and puts in a replacement organ. And if you can't pay it off in a ridiculously short period of time, and the organ that they put inside your body is obviously very expensive, like $40,000 plus, well, then they send a repo man to come get the organ out of you. They find you wherever you are, and they just viciously rip the organ out of your body. They put it in a suitcase, and they leave. They don't stitch you up. They just leave. And that's almost what society turned it into now. Except, you know, if you don't pay the bill that you accrued from the hospital, you can potentially face some jail time. So people do not want to get involved with hospitals or any, like, you know, remote they don't want to be in the same remote atmosphere of healthcare at all when it comes to, you know, having to pay back the money and whatnot, because I mean, people can't afford anything right now. I mean, inflation's crazy high, and, you know, wages are not matching. So I don't know. You guys let me know how you feel about this in the comments down below. It's
everyone around
been a very wild video.
Just wanted to move here so badly, and that America is the promised land. Now, many of us today know that this simply isn't true, that there aren't people around the world necessarily desperate to come here the way that we thought that they did. And not only do they not necessarily want to come here or even visit here, even if they were continually paid to do so, they would turn it down.
Yikes.
So answer me this question, please. Why are there still so many Americans desperate to believe that we are the absolute greatest in the world, in spite of people all around the world telling us that we are so backwards?
Brainwashing. It is brainwashing. It is brainwashing, unfortunately. The education system in America is way worse than it ever has been. And people, I think that one of the saving graces, though, at least, is people are able to look out into the world and be like, okay, this is what people think of America as of late, right? I mean, we can be like, oh wow, like this is how people actually view us. Although people in America won't see it as that for the most part, because again, our, you know, education system isn't the best and whatnot, and what our government puts out to us says otherwise. I mean, we could be getting lit on fire, and they're like, dude, you're not on fire, bro. Like, you know, you're in a sauna. Sit back and relax. You know, it's crazy. It's unfortunate. I do think if we fix a few of these things fundamentally, our healthcare system, our education system, and how we even, you know, have our police situation sorted right now, then that could help people living in America feel safer. And then if we restructure our international relations with the world, then that will change how the world views us. But that's not going to happen for a while. So for, you know, in the meantime, I mean, you guys let me know how you guys feel about all of this. I'm going to end the video here. And yeah, until the next time I see you guys again, take care. Peace.